Wisconsin Broadcasters Association Hall of Famer Bob Berry ruled Milwaukee's airwaves in the 60s and 70s. He spoke with countless musicians and celebrities over the years. Bob collected remarkable recordings of these encounters, which he's now sharing with the public. Here's Bob.
When you mention the game show Jeopardy, the name Alex Trebek immediately comes to mind. Alex hosted the syndicated show for 37 seasons. He hosted other game shows and appeared as himself in numerous films and TV series. Trebek was born in Canada. He moved to the United States in 1973, became a naturalized U.S. citizen in 1998. He received the Daytime Emmy Award for Outstanding Game Show Host 8 times for Jeopardy! I spoke with Alex shortly after the revival of Jeopardy! He graciously gave me the inside story on game shows, what it takes to become a host, and how hard is it to become a contestant.
Alex Trebek is on the air with us, the witty, articulate game show host who is the host of Jeopardy! Back on the air again, and I guess it's kind of an all-new show, isn't it, Alex?
Gosh, Bob, I'm a little embarrassed by that introduction. Should I say something witty and articulate now as a reply?
Only if you want to.
It's basically the old Jeopardy! Show with a new set of clothes.
Now, you've been on so many game shows, you must know what's behind them there. How do the ideas for new game shows get developed?
By bright people who come up with different concepts, and then by even brighter people who take those concepts and work them around over and over again, work them through rehearsals, talk them out, suggest changes, try those changes, until finally, after many, many months of work, you come up with a system that will perhaps please the public. Now, as you know, many television pilots are made each year, and the same is true with game shows, and only a few get on the air, and of those few, even fewer still survive and are popular with the public.
Is it usually the unknowns that develop these, or some well-known celebrities? Do they come up with ideas once in a while for them?
Bob, it's a little bit of both. What happens is that when an unknown develops a game show, he has difficulty marketing that product because he doesn't have a track record. Nobody wants to buy it from him and have him produce it because they don't know his qualifications, his capabilities in that area. So what they will do, and I'm referring now to major packagers or to the networks themselves, they will ally this creator of a game show with a major game show production company such as Goodson Todman, Merv Griffin Productions, or Bob Stewart Productions, and he will work in concert with them in bringing that show to the air.
What does it take to become a game show host?
Stupidity? No, a considerable amount of luck, because it's a fairly closed society. There aren't that many game shows around, and there seems to be a fairly good complement of hosts available to do that. So to break into it, you have to be rather bright. You have to be able to think on your feet. You have to convey to the viewer the fact that, one, you are there to help the contestants do the best they possibly can, and you are not there to shine on your own and take away any of their glory.
I've noticed that, and you do a great job at that. You really do.
Well, thank you. I've had a few years at it now, and I'm beginning to look it, I think. Every time I look in the mirror or at a television monitor, I see a wealth of gray hair.
How are the contestants picked for Jeopardy!
Well, ours are picked a little differently than most of the other game shows because, as you know, ours is based on material that we think is more difficult than what you would find on the other game shows. So we have a 2- or 3-part process. People who want to be contestants come to us, and they have to take a written test, first of all, which contains 40 answers. Depending on how well they do on that, they then go into a mock game against 2 other players. Some people do very well on the written test and do badly in the rehearsal game because they're not used to competing against 2 other people. They're not as fast on their feet as they were when they were sitting down writing out questions. They're perhaps intimidated by being in competition with others. Their personalities don't come through because they're nervous. All of these are factors that we have to take into account and make our selection from the remaining people in the group, so that while we will start off with, say, 100 people initially. Of that 100, only 1/4 or 25 of them will pass the written test.
Mm-hmm.
Of that 25, only 5 will pass the second test. So basically what we are dealing with on a regular basis here is that 5% of the people who come to us wind up being potential contestants.
So would people in Milwaukee, for instance, write to you first and ask to be able to take that test?
Lately we've been having, because the show has been increasing in popularity, we've been getting folks from all over the country who not only write us, but fly out to Los Angeles, take our test. If we're going to be taping and they do well on the tests and they are potential contestants, they might stay in town to be on the show. Or in the case of a young man we had with us this past week when we were taping the program, he flew in to take the test, went back to Chicago, came back to be on the program, and as a result wound up winning a bundle of money. So folks are flying in from all over the country. Some of our recent champions have been from Maryland, from Florida, from Kansas City, from Cleveland. And these are people who fly in here at their own expense, no guarantees whatsoever. They are just very intelligent. They're confident in their intelligence. They're confident also in their reflexes. They know that they're fast on their feet. And they come out here, try out for the show, and a lot of them have succeeded.
Mm-hmm. Do women stand a better chance of getting on the show, Alex, than men?
They have the same chance as men. Unfortunately, for our purposes, very few women apply. The men outnumber the women 4-to-1 in applications for the show, and I don't know why that is. Perhaps it's because, as fellows, we grow up in a more competitive atmosphere, and we're used to that kind of thing, whereas the women are more social. I really can't explain it, but I do know that we've kept track of it, and they outnumber the women 4-to-1, and they seem to do better in the games than the women. Of the undefeated champions we've had so far, I think only one has been a woman. So, and we're trying desperately. We advertise in the newspapers in Los Angeles and in other cities, and we state we need contestants, especially women. And we're anxious to have minorities on the program, too. For some reason, they seem to stay away from us, even in the testing. So we're keeping our fingers crossed and hoping that women will come out in greater numbers.
All right, we'll see what we can do here in Milwaukee. What about the
Gus,
shows?
You can help us. We'll be indebted to you, believe me.
The shows that give away prizes, instead of money, do you think that those kind of shows influence what we wear and the things that we buy? Do you think that
Well,
happens?
I think so to a certain extent, because our sister show, Wheel of Fortune, which is also produced by the Merv Griffin Company, gives away a lot of prizes. And as I have traveled around the country and talked to people about that show as well as Jeopardy, they have invariably said, gosh, we love Vanna White's outfits, and I wish I could own a dress like that, or I love this prize, or there was this car, or something like that. So I think to a certain extent they are influenced in the same way that they are influenced by anything they see on the air or in magazines. As you know, there's a big craze now for clothing and jewelry and accessories that are based on the popularity of the Dynasty television show.
Yeah, that's right.
So it does have an effect on the viewers, yes.
One more question, Alex. I know you're asked this all the time, I'm sure, but you must have one experience on all the game shows that you've done that stands out in your mind.
Oh, the one that I remember for some strange reason goes back to the very first program I did with NBC years ago. It was called Wizard of Oz, and I was working almost in the round on a circular platform, and the audience was seated 2/3 of the way around me and in an upward pattern. And I would call people out of the audience, and they would have to come down the stairs and join me on that circular riser. And one day I called on a lady, and she came down, and she was rather heavy. She must have weighed about 210 or 230. And she was so excited. She was moving at a very good clip. And she had trouble stopping when she got to the platform. And she almost put me into the adjoining studio where Johnny Carson was busy doing his show. It was a frightening experience for me because that was a lot of weight for me to try and stop at the top of the riser.
And thank you for joining us. So long.
Bob Berry.
Thank you for listening to Bob Berry's Unearthed Interviews. Be sure to subscribe and rate our podcast on iTunes or wherever you find your podcasts. You can find all the episodes at WisconsinBroadcastingMuseum.org. Check out Bob Berry's book, Rock and Roll Radio Milwaukee. Book sale proceeds support Angels Kids Fund and Donate Life Wisconsin. The preceding program was made possible by a generous contribution from Terry Vaughn.